big aspect of working with physics in a game is, of course, being able to detect when certain physics objects collide with each other, so that you can tell if, say, an enemy touches the player, or if a projectile touches an enemy, or any other kinds of interactions. In this case, we're going to simulate what happens if the cube, which could represent our player, collides with these spheres, and we want these spheres to be acting as if they were coins. So we're going to want them to essentially disappear when the player collides with them. Before we get to that point, though, let's just look at the very basics of detecting collisions. So there's a couple things you need to do in the Unity editor to make this possible. So first you have your colliding object. You're going to want it to have both a collider and a rigid body component attached to it. In this case, it has gravity, so it will fall down through the coins to demonstrate them being picked up. And then we're going to need to add a script to that. So if you need a reminder, you just go to Add Component, and you can press New Script and name it whatever you want. In this case, I already have it selected. So over here, this is the very basic code that we're starting off with. So here is our class. It's extending mono behavior like most objects will in Unity. And we're using this function onTriggerEnter. So this is built in, and if we have written it into our class, it will automatically get called when our object collides with the proper type of object. So here's the parameter that's being passed through the function. This will allow us to access information about the object that is being collided with. So we've named that other, and we will interact with that in just a moment. In this case, we're just printing collide, so it'll show up in the console that we've collided with an object. The other thing you need to do is make sure that whatever objects you want to collide with also have the correct sort of setup. So in here are three spheres. I'm going to select them all at once, which you can do and edit their properties together. You want to make sure that they all have a collider and that they have isTrigger checked off. This is the property that causes them to become the trigger of the function. So let's test this and see what happens. But first, we're going to go over to the console. Since we're printing, this is where those messages will appear. And if we watch closely, we'll watch the message collide appear 3 times in the console as the cube falls. So let's press play. Let it load for a moment. And you see as it fell, the collide function was called 3 different times because it collided with 3 different trigger spheres. Okay, so the thing is that we just passed right through it and nothing happened. That's because we need to remove these objects at the time of collision. So let's undo that and go back to our code. I'm just going to paste in the code here. In this case, we're going to use tags to detect what kind of game object we're coming in contact with. So I'm saying in an if statement, if other.tag, so this is other was passed in, and we're checking its tag for coin, the string coin. And if that's true, we destroy that game object. Now for this to work, we have to make sure that our spheres actually have this tag coin. Tags are a nice little feature of Unity that allows you to sort of differentiate objects from each other, and you access that through here. So I make sure I have all 3 of my spheres selected, and I have this coin tag selected here. Now this is not a default, so if you want to create your own, you have to go to Add Tag and press the little plus here, and you can put the name of your new tag in here. So I've already done that. So I'm not going to make a new tag. Okay, so now that we have added that little bit of code and saved it and it compiled, let's try this again. So we're going to press play. And as you can see, when the cube passes through each object, it collides with it. It still says that print message, but now it has removed the spheres from the game, simulating the idea of picking up coins.